Good morning. Thank you so much for coming and spending your busy day with me, something to that effect, right? And just spending time with me this morning to learn about how to do business with the federal government. We will not be discussing state, local, city, county. This is fishing for the feds. They spend over $600 billion. I know I said something completely different last time, didn't I? I know. But anyway, they spend over $600 billion in a fiscal year. That's October 1, let's just start with this year, of 2025, until September 30th of 2026. They will spend over $600 billion on goods and services as a start. That doesn't count everything else that they spend money on. That's just what us as small businesses typically will tap into. So let's take care of a couple of housekeeping. One, if you have a question, just say it loud and proud. No need to stand up because, again, we got the camera in the back, so it probably wouldn't capture you well. But again, just from your seats, just say it as loud as you possibly can so the camera can capture, and I will do my best to repeat, which is what I forgot last time. All right, so with that being said, in addition to that, before you go, please complete the survey for me. Just something I kind of threw together. Just want to know what your feedback is, what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong in Harford County as far as these types of classes, and what other types of classes would you like to see us teach. All right, bathrooms are out this door and to the right. And any questions before we get started? All right, so we're a little bit behind schedule, so I'll do my best. I'm a fast talker anyway, but I don't want to go so fast that we miss. So again, we don't have a lot of slides, but I have a lot of website links I wanted to visit and go to and play around with. That's really the primary purpose for today. All right? And sometimes I will stand, sometimes I will sit. So what's the first step? All right, so the first step is you need to know, in order for you to fish, 99.9% of all federal government contracts are put out for bid based on the NAICS code, N-A-I-C-S. You need to know what your codes are. So if you're selling a particular widget, and whenever I say widget, I mean product and or service. When you're selling a widget, you need to know what code, what NAICS code is associated to that widget, whether it's something that's a product or whether it's something that's a service. So what I've done is, when you see here on this slide, the second orange link you see is a PDF document which takes you to every single NAICS code that exists. Now, typically, if I had time, I would go to that website link, I would open it up, I would stroll and show you the 500 plus pages of NAICS codes, but to save a little bit of time, this is one we won't visit. But you need to visit that link, second link, first bullet, to get your code, all right? And I know what I said I wasn't going to do, but we're going to do it anyway. All right, so just bear with me. And this screen is a bit temperamental. All right, there we go right there. So this is the website. And this is what I try to do is give you .gov websites, not take you to places that are not official. So when I ask you to look up your NAICS code, you would go to that website link that's in the PowerPoint, you would download that document, and this is the list, 41 pages long. All right, and you simply find your code. All right, let's see if I can expand that for you a bit. There we go. All right, maybe a little bit too much expansion there. All right, so these are the codes. So every widget that is sold to the federal government, it does have a NAICS code associated with it, and you'll see that dollar value over to the right. And actually, I want to go down a little bit. Here's an example of one where you see NAICS code 113210, which has 20.5, that's million. And then below it, you have logging, which doesn't have a dollar value. What's the difference between the two? The 20.5 means your average sales over 5 years does not exceed 20.5 million. So if an opportunity comes out for bid and you want to go after it, you need to be small. You need to be a certain size. All right, so that size is determined how? Running the average. You take your business tax returns, you look at your total sales for the last 5 years. If you've been in business for 2 years, you take 2. If you've been in business for 3 years, you take 3. But you need to know whether or not you're small. You're not small because you say you're small. That's not how this works. It's always based on your NAICS code. So that's what the 20.5 is. You take your last 5 years of average sales, divide by 5. If you are under 20.5 million, you can bid on that opportunity. If you are $1 over, you cannot bid on that opportunity. So when I show you later on how to actually find the opportunities and we actually look at one, could be one that's already where the date to respond is passed, or it could be one where it's still live. Either case, it's going to have a NIDES code associated with it. So you need to know how to run your size standard analysis. Logging doesn't have a dollar of value. It says 500. That's employees. So if you were in logging and you wanted to know whether or not you're small, as long as you do not have over 500 employees, you are deemed small. This is why you cannot look at his company or look at her company and say, there's no way he's small. Unless you know his last 5 years of total sales, there's no way to know that. You're looking at what he's driving, where the business is located at, et cetera. And I've had people approach me and say, look at him, he's in a Rolls Royce, there's just no way. It depends on the NIDES code. Some are 20.5, some are 35 million, some are 45 million. You've got to run the numbers. It's the only way to truly tell. Yes, sir.
Gross.
That's total sales from all sources. I have no idea what just happened. That's total sales from all sources. All right, so it's not gross, like after all the bills are paid. It's not that. It's total sales from every single source. That means every widget that you sell. That's what you include in that. So when I'm looking at a business tax return, that first page, well, after the, this is my tax return page, and then you go to where the numbers start. You've got that total sales. That's the number that you're pulling. So you don't get to deduct anything from that number. This is not a profit thing or net profit or net loss. You're taking that whole real number. All right? So again, determining your size. This is your first step when you're fishing. It is impossible to look for work if you do not know your codes. And mind you, everything that you do may not fall under one code. You may have multiple codes. So what will happen is a contracting officer or a contracting specialist may say to you, what is your primary code? And you're scratching your head going, well, I've got 10. Which one is my primary? The primary is the one that you generate the majority of your revenues under. Okay? And what was his question? Because I forgot to repeat it. His question was, is it a gross total sales number or is it a raw total sales? My response was, it's total sales. It's not a gross, all right? We're not deducting anything from that number. So again, this is your first step in looking for work. All right? Last 5 years, you can't go back further than that. Okay. But if you've been in business less time, so your question was, can you go back further? Can you do last 6 years or last 7 years? You cannot. But can you do, if you've only been in business for 2 years, you can do last 2. And if you're new, first year, then it's just the 1. There is no average. The number is the number. Okay? Now, before the law changed a while ago, it used to be the last 3 years. And then the federal government changed it to let's go with the last 5 years. So a lot of businesses that were deemed large under these codes because they were running a 3-year average are now small again. Because they get to now run a 5-year average rather than a 3. Why am I harping on this? It's so important. This is the end all to be all right here. This is where you start when you're looking for federal government work. You've got to understand your codes. You've got to pick them. And please, on your SAM.gov profile, do not put every code that exists in the world. Do not put things that you want to sell in the future. It looks ridiculous. There's no way I'm believing that. You've been in business 2 years, you do 50 things? No way. Don't do that. More is better. You want to be very conservative because what happens is if I reach out to you based on your SAM profile, I see you have all these codes. Oh, he does all this, and I call and you go, no, we don't really do that. I'll never call you again. So you want to be very conservative with your codes. It's what can you do right now. Not what you want to do, not what you plan to do. You only select codes where you are ready to perform day one. Super important. This is everything when contracts are put out for bid. It's all about the code. They spend months trying to figure out, they meaning the government, what code to use. That's why it's so important. What are we buying? Under what code is it generate? Like, where does it fall? So they go through all that work and then you go to bid and realize you can't do that work. Doesn't make sense. And did you have a question, sir?
Yes, so that would be an average of the 5 years. So
yes.
Hypothetically, you made $50 million in 5 years, it's $10 million.
Could be. It depends on what the average is, because you're not possibly. So your question is, when you run your average, are you going with, this keeps timing out, are you going with the 50 million or the 8 million? I'm taking the total sales of the last 5 years. So I might have made 50 million one year, 20 million another year, 2 million another year. This is why the government is being fair by saying take an average.
So you add them together and divide by how many?
There you go.
Okay.
All right, and that's why it's better for it to be an average rather than, because what if you had a really good year? And the government, as always, they thought about everything. They said, you know what, let's make this fair. Sometimes it's going to, a company's sales, they are going to fluctuate. All right, so you want to always run that average. Okay? And just bear with me, this, the cameraman and I were trying to figure out why it does not want to allow me to toggle from screen to screen after I've gone to a website, but that's all right. We'll just roll with it. All right, so that's your first step. The next step is you take that code, you take those codes, right? You take those codes and you need to do something with them. How do I fish? How do I know who to actually go after work? Who procures what I offer? Who buys what I sell? You take those codes and then you're going to go to usaspending.gov. That's your first link. I need to get a list of those agencies that actually procure what I offer, where the government has done a fabulous job at placing that information in a centralized location just for you. All right, so I'm going to take that code. Let's say the code that I generate the majority of my revenues under is 541511. I'm going to go to usaspending.gov. I want to go 1 year back. We're now in FY 2026, which just started October 1. There's probably little to no data. I'm going to go 1 year back. I want to know what the spending habits were and what it is that I procure. I'm going to go to usaspending.gov. I'm going to select FY 2025. I always go 1 year back. I'm going to go down and find NIATS code. I'm going to type in 541511. It will always give me 3 boxes. You want to only select the last. Then I'm going to go submit. It's about to pull every single federal government contract that was awarded during FY 2025 under NIATS code 541511. Why am I looking at contracts already awarded? My interest is contracts that I want to bid on. Well, I've got to go backwards first. If I don't understand the spending habits of my true customer, how could I possibly know who to market to? So I'm out there going to Food and Drug Administration events, and it turns out the USA Spending says they don't really spend in what I do. Oh, what a waste of time that was. This is why we go backwards. Data drives what you do or don't do. Yes, I do recognize there's no cheese in this. I can't make any money by spending hours conducting research, but also if I don't spend the time to go backwards to look at spending habits, come up with a list of who buys what I sell, look at, hey, this is what I sell, but it turns out they don't really buy a lot of that. If I don't spend time doing that, I'll be winging it. I'll be going to a whole bunch of events and I'll get no traction whatsoever. I'll start emailing and calling people, sending out my CAPE statement, I get no response. This is why. You spent no time to get the research to see who should I be talking to? What events should I be actually attending? I have my clients to not go to any events if they weren't listed in this database. If they weren't in usaspending.gov as part of the top 10, top 20, don't go. Your customer's not in that room. Why waste your time? Just so you can check a box and go. Fight traffic, get all dressed up looking cute to walk around. When your customer's not in the room, you sold nothing. You should not do that. It should be more strategic. It needs to make sense. So when you're in usaspending.gov, let's just take a look at a couple of things. First thing is, totally forgot my glasses. For 541511, there were a total of 6,468 contracts awarded in one fiscal year for just that one code. I'm only looking at one code right now. And this list you see below it are the awardees, the recipients of those contracts. So what am I looking at here? I'm looking at competition, and I'm also looking at potential subcontract work. I'm looking at 2 things right now. Yes, these are contracts already awarded, but I now know who's operating, who's working in my space, who's in my space, who I'm going to run into at these events, who I might want to get subcontract work from. That's what this list is. All right, so don't look at it as these contracts are already awarded. Why am I looking at this? Look at it from a glass is half full rather than glasses half empty. I have two things now. Primes I did not know about before who do what I do, so I can reach out for sub work. And the second thing is I know where the money's going and who it's going to. All right, super important. The next thing the USAspending.gov does is it gives you a list of the awarding agencies. So just like that, in a matter of a minute or less, I now have my top 5 spenders under 541511. Just like that. So now I know what events I should be going to look for work, to build relationships. Yes, sir.
Break that down regionally?
Definitely. USA Spending does it all. And if you're old school like me, you're probably used to FPDS, which still exists, but they're transitioning away from that database and it will all be here. So right now, both are live. You can gather information in both places. But you are right. You can go in here. I could go by state. I could go by agency. I could go by what the widget is. I could research and do any type of query in here I want. I'm doing a basic one for you now because I need us to get a list of who procures what we offer. So when I teach you how to fish, I know what I'm looking for. I'm going to go through in SAM.gov, which I'm going to show you in just a minute, and look at all these opportunities out there under 541511. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to be looking for these agencies because they procure what I offer. That's all I'm interested in, nothing else. Mind you, there are not just 10. So if I go next 10, next 10, next 10. As a company, we don't really deal with startups too much, but every now and then we'll get someone that's not ready. So they go to the very last page and work their way inward. They go, we want to go after those agencies that spend very little, get some of that low-hanging fruit, then win some awards, and then leverage that to go back after the ones that truly spend. But they're like, Monica, we're not ready. We can't fund it. We can't staff it. We don't have strong past performance. So consider that. Consider going here and doing next 10 till you get to the very last page where those agencies spend very little and then work your way in. An award is an award. Whether you're the prime or whether you're the sub, you can leverage that win to get the next win. That's how you have to look at it. No contract should be too small. None. Because those little ones, it adds up. And that's what you want. All right? You just want to make sure that you do that. All right? And then the last thing I want to show you is we all believe that when we're looking at contracts, we want to know what the dollar value is. So we know there were a total of over 6,000 for 541511. Well, the dollar value for that 6,000 plus contracts is $9.1 billion. Is my glasses right? Yeah, 9.1. All right, that's a B. And that's in one fiscal year. Not 2, not 3, not 8, 1 year. And I always pick that code whenever I'm teaching a class to show you the amount of money that's actually out there. If you're not in federal procurement, you need to be if you've got the right widget. 541511 is information technology, baby. It's a good sin. 541512, 515115, 11, 10, 9, technology is it. Lots of money, billions of dollars are spent. Let's say I want to know whether or not this code is trending in a positive way. All I do is go back to my query, I select the last 3 years and run a trend. So now it's giving me the last 3 years. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to my yellow box. 13,946 contracts awarded in the past 3 years. But the main reason why I want to go here is I want to see my trend analysis. So I'm going to go down here and look at, is the spending going up or down? Ah, look at that. Took a dip. I need to know that. That's my primary code. I'm out there shopping it. I'm selling it. I'm pitching it. It turns out government spending less. I need to know that because now I might need to transition to another code. Maybe I need to diversify. I wouldn't know that if I didn't run the data. Yes, again, I understand. No cheese in this. Nothing but time spent, but yet you are receiving no revenues whatsoever while you're doing all this. But you will if you get the data right, and you will save yourself time. So for this code, and I actually, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit surprised that it took a little bit of a dip. So we got 9.1 billion, 10, and 10. So it held steady for 2 years, and then it took a small dip in 2025. We're still in the B's. We're still in the billions. I'm still good. You know, I'm not too afraid, but I've actually performed this exercise for clients where it took such a dip, they were like, this is why no one's returning my phone call. When I say it took a dip for some clients, it was here like on a chart, and then we did the past 3 years. Next year it was like this. Last year it was like this. She said, now I get it. She never ran the data. So what we had to do was help her to transition to a different code, to sell a different type of widget. Same kind of widget, but different. And then the last thing I want to show you is we all believe that all the cheese is in DC. Not true. So what USA Spending does is it tells you where the money went. So the contract originates in Washington, D.C., but then the money is disseminated out to all the states. So if you're in the DMV, which I know they don't call it the DMV anymore, but when you're in the DMV for code 512, the majority of that cheese went to Virginia federal agencies. Not New Jersey, not New York, right here in your neck of the woods. You need to know that. I have a lot of New Jersey clients, New Jersey and New York. I just exploded it probably about 6 years ago. I teach classes there just like this, the whole 9 yards. They have no idea how we do what we do on this side of the Beltway. All they know is Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Delaware, and I'm swinging them this way. Because for a lot of them, their NIDS codes, the cheese is over here, not over there. Even though we're close, but it's not there. And they're realizing I need to shift, I need to move. So the darker the shade, the more the cheese. That means you need to develop relationships in those states with those federal agencies. There's not just one FDA. There's one in every state. There's one in California. Okay, there's one in Florida. So you can't just stay here because this is not where the money is always. All right, and as I wave over, it tells you the amount spent in that particular state. So you decide whether you want to have a presence with those federal agencies in those states, but you got to make a decision because everything's not where you are. You may need to branch out. I don't mean go get an office and staff and employees. I just mean attend events there. Start to network, shake hands, kiss babies, that kind of thing. And I'm a believer in no relationship, no contract. Think about it this way. I'm a contracting officer. You are marketing to me. You have a capability statement. I looked at it. That's great. Looks fantastic. Have a good day. That's how they say. Why? Because there are hundreds of you that provide what you provide. What sets you apart from him? I've been communicating with him. He's been attending events. I see him around. He's not just in person, but virtual. He markets to me. He tells me about things going on with his company, ups and downs, et cetera. We've never spoken. All you've ever done is go into sam.gov. You found an opportunity that my agency put out. You bid. I'm holding it up in a room going, has anyone heard of this company? Because you didn't know marketing. You decided it was not important to develop a relationship with that agency at all. But you have an expectation that she's going to award you a contract. Why would she do that? Why would she risk her position, her job, to award a contract to someone she has never heard of? So if you are sitting at home, and I know in COVID we all developed these wonderful, beautiful offices. I've got one as well, at home, upstairs, turned the bedroom into an office. It's so lovely. And I'm sitting there and I'm doing my thing in my pajamas. But I'm not out there. But yet I have an expectation that someone's going to award me a multi-million-dollar contract sight unseen. That is ridiculous. You must take the time to go out, and I'll say it again, to shake hands and kiss babies. No relationship, no contract. I could teach you everything in the world. None of it will work if you won't spend the time to actually go out, meet people, get to know people, and develop relationships. It's a must. All right? So again, it doesn't matter what I show you. If that's not done, it's pretty much dead in the water. All right? So let's get out of this. Let's go back to our PowerPoint. All right, so we've got two things now because now we're ready to fish. We know our code, and in addition to knowing our code, we also know who the spenders are within that code. We are aware of who our potential customer is. So what we've got to do now is, what are we looking for? Are we looking for an RFQ, a request for quote, / sources sought? Are we looking for an RFI, RFP, IFP, B, what are we looking for exactly? So when I take you into SAM.gov, you've got to have an idea of what you're looking for. So let's look at the differences between these, all right? Each one is something different. An RFI/sources sought is not a contract. It is a request for information. That's what RFI stands for. That means the government anticipates that it wants to put a possible contract out for bid, but it's not sure. It's not sure if there are enough of us to actually bid on that opportunity. So they put it out as an RFI/sources sought. Okay? Next we've got I'm sorry, I did skip RFQ, didn't I? RFQ is pretty much a request for quote. So those are quick and dirty. You'll see a lot of those, and I have some clients that do the kind of work where, for instance, they don't even generate contracts with their customers. It's just an invoice. They're so old school. Like, really, a full-blown 20-page contract is not even necessary in what they do. A simple invoice with, I'll do X for this amount of money, well, that's an RFQ. Just a simple quote. How much would you charge me, the federal government, to provide X or to do X? Real easy. So you'll see RFQs in SAM.gov, and then next you'll see the RFIs and the sources sought. Then you've got your RFP. That's an actual request for proposal. That's a contract. That's something you're going to sit, write a proposal response, and keep your fingers crossed that yours, along with the other 100 people that also bid, that you win. That's your RFP. All right? Once you do that, all right, you need to understand that in order to get to the RFP stage, and of course you've got your IFB, which again, it's rarely used. It's a sealed bid kind of thing. The federal government kind of moved away from that many, many eons ago, but I wanted to put it there just so you knew. All right, so jumping down into the developing and winning proposal, and once you find that RFP, well, actually, I'll even go back to RFI. RFQ is easy. You submit your quote. They say yes or no. Yours is not the only quote. They move on from there. RFI, RFP, you need to write a response. This is where we fall short. Monica taught us how to fish. She taught us about the NITES code, told us where to go. We did the research. We went backwards. We did everything. But I'm not winning anything. Every proposal I write, every response to an RFI I write, it kind of gets rejected. I can't seem to cross over. That's a challenge for not just you, for me as well. I personally do not have the skill set to write a proposal response. Not my wheelhouse. I outsource it. I hire someone who does write winning proposals, hopefully, and then from there, I pray that I win. But this will be your biggest challenge. You will find all the work in the world. You will write proposal responses and you'll get no traction. You'll keep losing and losing, not making the short list. It's your proposal. Something's wrong with it. It's either your pricing or your structure, or it's just bad all the way around. Could be your graphics. You may have to outsource initially. Depending upon the dollar amount of hiring someone to write a proposal response for you, it could get expensive. Upwards of, let's say it's $1 million, anticipated award of about $1 million, you're probably going to pay about $20,000 or more to get that proposal written for you. I'm not sure if I barely have lunch money today. So for me to put out $20,000 to have someone write a proposal where I don't know, there's no guarantee it will even win. What will you do? This will be your biggest challenge in the federal space. States a little bit more lenient. They don't have RFPs and RFIs that are 200 pages long, but the federal government does. You need a professional to write that proposal response. And I suggest two things. One, whenever you're out there interviewing anyone that might be able to, ask them what their win ratio is. First question you ask any potential proposal writer, what's your winning ratio? How many have you written? Who have you written them for? And what's your win ratio? If you wrote 5 last month, how many won? You need to know that. And secondly, if you do have some money to put aside, I would hire someone to do the next 2 or 3, maybe 4. And what happens is after they write them, you receive everything they wrote back. That becomes your template for you to now try to maybe take over the process and then write those proposals in-house. Money will run out quick, especially if after I show you how to find the work, you actually find a whole bunch and you want to have all these written. It becomes a lot. The money goes I mean, just bleeding cash. Well, you may want to start to think about when you get a couple that win, that becomes your template. Now, internally, you can try and write them yourself. It's just hard. I took a couple of classes. I have some friends that's been doing it 20, 30 years, offered to train me. I'm good. My brain cannot absorb anything else. Like, I've got my box, I'm fine. I'll just outsource it. I'll just come up with the money. It's a lot. All right, and then last thing I want to say about writing the winning proposal, it has sections. All right, you've got that technical section, you've got that past performance section, and the section that I can never seem to get right is the pricing. You cannot pull pricing out of thin air. That number came from somewhere. So when you're writing your proposal response, you have to show the government how you came up with that price that you are anticipating charging them. That's probably, for me, trying to learn how to do proposal writing was the hardest section for me, was pricing. I couldn't just make it up. I was very surprised by that. I couldn't just pull the numbers out of thin air and just write down it's gonna be $50 an apple. You know, I just couldn't do it. I had to prove where I came up with the $50.
So you mean AI didn't do it for you?
Oh, you're funny. He says AI didn't do it for me. No, AI did not necessarily do that for me. Now, I know that's an option as well, but I wasn't sitting on the panel, but I did attend an event in DC, and a couple of contracting officers said, if you utilize, I won't say what agency said it, if you utilize AI to write your proposal response, we will reject it. The same AI you're using, ChatGPT, and I did know all the names, but it escapes me in this particular moment. They have that too. And they can just dump yours right on in there and figure out, you know, what part came from. So you want to be careful. So she did say, and actually I'll just go ahead and say, it's from Treasury. Someone from Treasury said, she said, if you do it, I'm rejecting it. We do not want AI written proposals. We want it to be tailored to us as an agency. When I read it, it should not read like a template, even if it was. It should read like you wrote this just for me. That's a winning proposal response. All right? Yes, ma'am.
Do agencies use kind of a standardized RFP template, or is it unique to each agency?
So the question is, will they, does a federal government agency or just any government agency utilize, hey, this is the template for creating an RFP. Every agency is pretty much creating it based on this template. No. We could only wish that that was the situation, right? You could read an RFP from Treasury. It's completely different from Food and Drug Administration, completely different from, Social Security Administration. They're all different. But one thing I will say, what's consistent is what I have there. Read the entire package, which is that actual RFP/RFI. And they do have sections like your section C, your section L, your section M. Those are the standard ones. So those section areas are pretty much standard, but it will all read different. Some will be 5 pages long, some will be 50 pages long. It just depends. And the larger the dollar value of the contract, the more pages of the RFP. And then last thing I want to say on this slide before we move on is RFI. When you respond to an RFI, it is not a contract. I mentioned that earlier. It is the government kind of fishing to see, are there, do companies like us exist that could actually perform the work? That's the first thing. I said that before. I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that. Second thing is every single thing you put in the RFI, once you submit the RFI, becomes the possession of the government. Everything, all your ideas, your strategy, everything. And you got nothing for that. Then it comes out as an RFP, you don't win. They take what you put in the RFI. And again, it's 100% legal. And actually the RFI will tell you that upon submission of this RFI, that the content of it is now the possession of the government. They will take that to create an RFP from it. But you're guaranteed nothing on an RFI. So you cannot spend a whole lot of time responding to RFIs because they are not contracts. You then have to wait to see if an RFP actually comes out. Now, we'll say this back to Treasury again. Treasury did say when we put out an RFI, not always, nothing's always, but when we put out an RFI, only those sometimes that respond to the RFI will receive the RFP. And actually, I'll reword that, not even receive. But when they put it back out for bid as an RFP, it'll say respondents can only be those who responded to the RFI. I've seen that. And Treasury's big on that. So you must be selective in what RFIs. You can't just be RFP driven. You cannot. You'll need to mix that up a little bit. And remember, RFIs, not contracts. RFPs are contracts. One is cheese, one is not. However, some agencies are saying, hey, if you didn't respond to my RFI, you can't respond to my RFP. But you won't know ahead of time which ones allow such a thing. That's the downside. Let me go back there and I'll be right here. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I forgot about the legalities of them owning the RFI information, because my question was going to be, do you still find them, though, worthy, because you can learn a lot to help you in the future responding to an RFP? Because they ask you questions that are very based forward of an RFP. They ask you different types of questions, and then you've got the meat of the answers for future. So, yeah, now I'm really, is it worth what you may learn responding to an RFI, but the risk of losing your ideas?
I'm a glass, oh, Monica, don't lie in front of all these people. Okay, typically I am a glass that is half empty kind of person. Don't be that, okay? I want you to be a glass that's half full or almost full kind of person. And my response to you is be more of a glass that's half full, but that's not typically how I think. So I'll say this to you. I like the idea of responding to RFIs for a couple of reasons. One, I gave the example that this gentleman, what sets him apart from that one's marketing. The agency's familiar with him. They've seen him. Him, not at all. RFI takes you from here to over there. You now know who I am. I've responded to your RFI. So for no other reason whatsoever, this is your soft introduction to that agency. They now know who you are. I'm not saying spend all your time responding to RFIs across all your agencies that we saw in USA Spending, but I will say look at it as, at minimum, I get that. If I get nothing else from it, I get that. Yes, they will take my ideas. It's not stealing. They will take my ideas to create their RFP. However, I just got introduced to them by responding to something that their agency puts out. I'm no longer new. I'm no longer someone they've never heard of. So you think about RFIs in that way. Try not to think so much about, they're going to take all of my information and create this amazing RFP, and then I bid and then I don't win. Oh, what a waste of time. Don't look at it like that. RFI is your introduction to them and vice versa. Also, you'll get to see, second thing, is you'll get to see who's playing in your sandbox. Because I will get to see who the other respondents are to the RFI. At some point, there'll be a marketing meeting, or they call them pre-bid meetings. There'll be a pre-bid meeting. There'll be something where I'll get to see who else is also thinking about bidding or who might be responding to the RFI. I need to know my competition. One, it's my competition, so I need to know who they are. And secondly, I might want to jump on someone's team. I actually send clients to pre-bid meetings. They have no intention on bidding. We're being nosy. We want to know who's bidding, who might be bidding, who might be there. And when we're in that virtual environment, it can be virtual. We're looking at all the people that have signed in. Oh, we're very sneaky about it. We're looking at all the people, and then we'll put stuff in chat. Hey, anyone looking for a subcontractor? We're literally chatting while they're presenting information. Again, you've got to be creative. You got to draw and color outside the lines, which is all me. I'm not an in-the-box kind of person at all. I'm going to always find that side or back door to get it done, because the front door is just too many of us are headed that I want to try to connect in a different way. So I can even market to you even if we're in a virtual meeting. I see your name. I've heard, hey, how you doing, Alex? What's going on? How's your day going? I'm chatting with you while they're presenting information. Every time, everything I go to, every event, meeting, it is a marketing opportunity. It's a time for me to introduce who I am and what I do. Always. Never miss that opportunity, even if it's virtual. That's what the chat is for. We're all sitting there just listening to the presentation. Don't do that. Go into that chat. And then when I start putting in a website link to TRG, then other people start putting in their website links. Oh, I've heard of you. And we're chatting while they're presenting. Never miss that opportunity. So look at RFIs like that. okay, as a way, as introducing yourself to them as a soft introduction. It's not a relationship, but it's a start. And so you had a question?
That was basically my question. It's like, can you use RFIs as an introduction to them? Like, who cares if they steal your ideas, right? Ideas are kind of a dime a dozen. Just
The camera's on, you can't say still. It's okay.
That was my question.
Definitely. You can always utilize an RSI, excuse me, RSI, a RFI as a way for a software introduction and then build from there. Okay? All right, and remember, proposal is end all to be all. No good proposal, you're pretty much dead in the water. And this slide you can read at your leisure to make sure we stay on time today. So I wanted to define for you, which I've pretty much already done, but I gave you an even deeper look into your RFQ, your RFI, and your RFP. I am an information person. I do realize that on PowerPoints it should just be bullets. I want my PowerPoints to be reference guides. I don't want you to leave here and just don't have to go look things up. I want to give you exactly what it is that you need, but I have no intention of reading all that, all right? But I wanted to make sure that I defined it for you.
Quick question.
Yes, sir.
Lady asked about, for the RFPs, if there is a standard that's used, and you said no.
No.
But, I mean, like, if I wanted to write a resume or a cover letter, I can go to anywhere on the internet, type in resume.com, and I get a standard that I could use as a guide. Is it the same thing for these RFPs and RFIs you mentioned?
So his question is, with the RFP and RFI, if there's no, well, actually for RFP, if there's no template, how am I writing the proposal response? That's pretty much the gist of your question. Like, what's my guide? If I'm looking to write a resume, I can go online and get a resume template. Why can't I do that for an RFP? Well, guess what? The RFP is your guide. Your proposal response is in accordance to what the RFP tells you that needs to be in the proposal. It tells you, I want a cover page. In the cover page, I want this. That is your guide. The RFP will be your guide. You won't need anything else. And to be honest with you, you shouldn't utilize anything else, because if you do, then you're not responsive, because you did not follow the guidelines of the RFP. Your proposal that's submitted, disqualified immediately. I've had clients lose contracts because they created a cover page. It did not ask for a cover page, which would have been fine, but the cover page had errors in it. So they got disqualified. They come calling me going, what can I do? Nothing. First of all, why would you put a cover page when it didn't ask you for one? You only do what the RFP tells you to do. That's your guide. As long as you follow it, you'll be good to go. You're missing anything, disqualified. Just like that. They've got to get the number down. They have hundreds of them coming in. They want to disqualify as many as humanly possible, because none of them want to sit there and read all of those proposal responses. So people will miss the small things. Very tiny things, disqualified. This is why you're hiring, not me, because I'm terrible at it. This is why you're hiring a professional initially, because they catch all those little nuances that we wouldn't even think, why would it matter? All right? So here we've got, where are we looking for work? We're finally getting to it, right? Where are we actually looking for work? You're looking in sam.gov. Any opportunity over $25,000, you're going to find in sam.gov. So when you're looking for work, this is where you go, not any place else. Yes, if you've got access to Deltek, et cetera, you may want to pay the money for Deltek. Again, I'd rather save my money on hiring a professional proposal writer in order to get the proposal written rather than spend the monthly fee on Deltek. And by the way, Deltek gets their information from sam.gov, from sam.gov, from usaspending.gov, and from FPDS. There's a way for us to, which is this one right here, to extract information from federal government websites and put them into our own apps and databases and create this fancy thing we can then turn around and sell. That's what that last one is. So you're able to do that. So for me, I'd rather hear it from the horse's mouth. I go to the actual government websites. They're free. I don't need to register and get everything I need. It takes a little bit more time because Deltek makes it so easy, but you pay for that. I'd rather you spend your money on hiring a proposal writer for your next 3 or 4 proposals and utilize that money better. That's just my professional opinion on that. All right? So let's just go through what sam.gov does. Yes, we can look for work, but you can also do research. You can look for opportunities, which is what we're about to do. You can conduct trend analysis, competitive analysis, marketing strategy. It does everything. Absolutely everything. Yes, sir.
Contracts under 25,000?
Go into sam.gov. It's the law. Over $25,000, it must be published in sam.gov. That's Congress enacted. It must go there. Do they have opportunities under $25,000? Yes, but that's where the relationship he has comes in at. He knows about the smaller opportunities because he definitely has the relationship where his connection, his POC at the government is telling him about the lower hanging fruit. But where can you find those? Typically, they're not published. Under $25,000. Anything $25,000 and above must, by law, be placed in sam.gov. Whether it's an RFQ, RFI, RFP, IFB, doesn't matter. It must go here.
The less than $25,000?
Relationship driven. That's where you'll find those typically. So that means since they're not, the agency is not obligated to publicize them, they may or may not. You would only know if you've got a rapport, your relationship with that agency POC. It's the only way. Back when I started, back in the early 90s, when I was in training, I was told, yes, Monica, you need to teach the 8A firms that you're servicing that they need to have relationships because these points of contact at the agency, they've got a drawer. Literally, it was taught to me this way. They have a drawer full of contracts. And in order for you to help your 8A firms, they've got to have that relationship with her so that she'll pull those contracts out of the drawer. That's how it was worded to me back in the early 90s, that there was this drawer full of contracts, okay? Not FPDS. There was no sam.gov back then. There was just like this drawer, okay? And for a long time, again, right out of high school, I believed that nonsense, that there was a drawer full of contracts. I need to teach you how to get into the drawer. I mean, it was just, so my point of the matter is that under 25, I think it's still in the drawer, to be honest with you, because they're definitely not on sam.gov. I won't, Monica, take that back. They're not definitely not on sam.gov, but they're not all on sam.gov because it's not Congress mandated. So that means until I can develop a relationship to get into that drawer, I may be missing out on the lower hanging fruit that I can staff, that I can fund, that I can manage the contract because they're small. But I will say this though, again, thinking outside the box, coloring outside the lines, while I'm marketing for things over 25, I'm asking about things under 25. Make it easy on yourself. Don't worry about where they are or where they aren't. If you're out there marketing, you're shaking hands and kissing babies in the midst of my communication with you, I know I would feel a little bit more comfortable if I went under 25 just for now. Because I can manage it, I can staff it, I can control the contract, I'll be good to go. So while I'm marketing to you for the over 25, I'm asking, hey, you got anything under 25? I'll take 10, 15, this is what we do. So that's what you do. So don't worry about knowing where they are, the lower hanging fruit. While you're marketing for the above and 25 and above, ask about the 25 and below. Easy enough. But remember, they're in a drawer. And we don't know where this drawer is. And there's so many of these drawers because there's hundreds of federal agencies, they all have a drawer. All right? So while you're out there marketing, just ask about the, hey, do you have any, and they call them micro purchases, something along those lines, the under 25. Just ask about them while you're asking about the others. Okay? Yes, ma'am. One second.
In trying to identify who the, I guess, decision maker is, seems like there's like many different procurement officers, there's different buyers. How do you pick which one to like go after? And I'm like wondering about what networking events
Okay.
you find them.
All right, so I'll tackle that from a lot of different perspectives, but first I'll repeat the question. He's back there saying she's not going to do it. So her question was, in a nutshell, when I'm out there and I'm marketing, how do I identify who the points of contact are? Who do I know who to talk to? Who's the decision maker for that particular opportunity? This is one of the reasons why I love RFIs and RFPs. It puts their name in it. So that's the starting point for me. I didn't know anyone in that office. Now I'm reading the RFI and it says Sarah Smith is the contracting specialist and John Smith is the contracting officer. I gotta make sure I take those POCs and put their names over here for later. RFI does that. RFP does the exact same thing. All right. And when I go into usaspending.gov, it doesn't necessarily, actually it does. If I open up the actual contract that was awarded, it gives me points of contact that were assigned to that opportunity. Everything's opportunity driven. So you're not going to get a list of every single POC who's in procurement in that office. You don't need that. What you need is for those, right. So when you're looking at the opportunity, the RFQ, the RFI, the RFP, the IFB, it actually lists a point of contact. So you'll get that name. When you're looking for events, I'm looking for events for the list that I saw in usaspending.gov. I only want to attend events that are those that spend and what I do, that procure what I offer. When I go to the agency's website and look for upcoming events, it will also give me who I need to contact to register. I now have another point of contact. So that's how you are gaining these POCs organically, either through upcoming events. They're actually giving you the name of a person along with an email address of who you reach out to register. That's one way. Another way is it's listed in the RFP, in the RFI, on the RFQ. So you need to create, which is what I do for my clients. Well, I don't do it for my clients, but I tell them to do it, to create a spreadsheet of all the different POCs you run across while you're organically out there marketing, shaking hands, kissing babies, reading RFIs, reading RFPs, because those POCs, that information will come in handy later. Now, could I get a list of all the procurement folk and the Food and Drug Administration? I could. It's online. Yeah. But it does me no good. I need something that's connected to an actual opportunity, because that's what I want to discuss. I don't want a general person. I want to know, what are you assigned? Are you assigned this one that you put out for bid? I want to talk to that person. So you really don't want this massive list when you don't know who's assigned what. Stick with the RFI, RFP, RFQ. Gain those names that way. And then when you go out to marketing events and they're at the table, you give a card, you take a card. Now you've got another POC. That's how you are getting these POCs. Points of contact, by the way. All right? Gain those names, email addresses, and phone numbers organically. And hopefully they are attached to an opportunity where it makes more sense. Okay? All right, so before we go there, I'm going to go back one more slide. We're going to go here. All right. So let's go to sam.gov. Let's actually do some fishing. Oh, we're doing so good on time. Literally after this, there are only 2 more slides, I believe, and then we're good to go. So even though we started a little bit late, we are doing really well right now. So I'm going to stick with my 541512. As you can see, it's already sitting right there for me. So now that I've listed my NIDES codes, well, not listed them, I looked at the list of NIDES codes, and I know what codes I actually generate my widget under, all right? From there, I took that code, I went into usaspending.gov, and I got a list of those that procure what I offer. From there, I did my research to see what types of opportunities I might be looking for, RFQs, RFIs, RFPs, IFBs. I've done my research, I've done my homework, I'm ready to actually look for work. So I go into sam.gov and I take my 541512, and I tell the system, this is a very simple search. In this system, someone might ask, you could run all types of queries. However, you could do a keyword, you could do by agency, you could do by a date, however you would like. For purposes of our training class, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to put in 541512. I'm going to tell sam.gov to list every single opportunity out there, whether the response date for my proposal submission has passed or whether it's alive. I want to see all of it. All right? I simply type in 541512. I select enter. It tells me there are, right now, 375, which is totally not a lot, which is so awesome. There are a total of 375 opportunities that within the RFP, RFQ, RFI, et cetera, that have 541512 listed. Just like that, I've got 375 I need to comb through. I know, right? I've seen the list be much bigger than that, but the government's closed right now. So that's part of the reason why you don't see as many. So once you get this list, like Monica, what do I do with this? One of the first things I want to show you is over here to the right. Sorry, left. over here to the left, you'll see contract opportunities. You'll see current response date. That's the date that tells me when my proposal response is due. So I won't even open any ones where the date to respond is gone. If it has passed, why would I open it? That's pointless. So that's the first thing I want you to do when you get here. When you comb through these, but don't open anything. Look to see, has the response date actually passed? All right, so that's the first thing I'm looking for. And then it also tells you notice type. That very first one says sources sought. So before I've opened anything, I'm already learning what I need to learn about some of these. Now also, I could eyeball this and say, Airfield Data Management Services server, we don't really do that. And just keep going. I could do that. I could literally try to eyeball it by looking at some of the titles of some of these and going, nah, I'm not interested in that. No, I'm not interested in that. This one's got a response date, was updated. Well, actually, it doesn't have response date. Not sure what's going on with that one. I might open that one. So this is pretty much what you do initially. You just kind of look through them without opening up anything. If I look at something that has got a response date of October 9th, that's next week. No, today's the 9th. I won't even open it. Or let's say it's tomorrow. I won't even open it. There's no way I can write a proposal response, leave this class and go. It's just no way. So this is how you weed out some of these. Now let me take one that I want to open up. A lot of these are sources sought. Again, the government's closed. We know sources sought are like RFIs. They are not contracts. Got a lot of sources sought here. All right. Pre-solicitation. That was updated. This one has since passed. All right. Okay, here's a good one. All right, so this tells me October 15th is the date. No glasses, Monica. 16th, all right, is when it's due. It's an actual solicitation, which means it's an RFP. I'm looking for the word solicitation. I saw a few that said pre-solicitation. I saw some that said sources sought. Don't want that. I saw some that didn't designate a type at all. Skipping that as well. I'm jumping right to where the cheese is. So I'm looking for solicitation. Now I'm going to open it, and it even tells me right there in the title, it's an actual RFP. So you open it up. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go backwards. First thing I'm going to do is download all of that. Look at the size of that baby. Woo! Every single attachment you see needs to be downloaded. Sir, this goes back to you said before, what's my template? How do I know what to write? Download every last document there. Do you see how overwhelming this could be? This is actually a really good example. So before I start reading anything at the top, I always have my clients go all the way to the bottom and start download, 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 because every single one of these documents need to be read. Because all of them are going to help me write my proposal response. Without me reading every last one of these, there's no way I can write a winning proposal response. This is why you're paying $20,000, $30,000, ladies and gentlemen. In order for them to write one word, all of that must be read first. Then they've got to connect everything you see there to your core competencies, your past performance, your pricing. All of that needs to connect back to what the requirements are. When back when I was, they were attempting to train me on how to write a proposal response, I said, so what are the steps? I think her name was Sarah. She said, well, step one is read it. I said, okay, I got that. Read it. She says, step two is read it again. I said, okay. And she said, step three is read it a third time. She said, because that's what I'm going to need to do before I can write it for you. I'm going to read that baby 3-4 times before I even know what the first word I will write will be. And when you're looking at something like this with all of these attachments, this is overwhelming. But every single one of these attachments needs to be downloaded and needs to be read. Some of these will be templates that you need to fill out with your company information, et cetera. It could ask you all sorts of questions. All right? Not trying to scare you, trying to get you to understand that when you're operating in the federal space, it is not as simple as finding it. It's a whole lot more that goes to that. I'll go here and then I'll go there. Yes, sir.
So how do we know roughly what ballpark this is in money-wise? Like, is this
Let's take a look.
roughly
Because
$1 million contract? Is this?
so he wants to know, how do I know what the anticipated award dollar value of this particular contract is? I'm going to say this to you. Typically, it is publicized, but I want you to consider this. If you are the government, would you tell us how much you're willing to spend? No.
No, that's why I'm kind of
Exactly.
wondering, like,
This is where the NIDES code comes in at, the 541512. The size standard for that code is X. You need to be under X, averaged over 5 years in order to bid. So we know it's going to be somewhere around possibly.
So like, if I think I can do this contract, but I'm competing with Lockheed, and Lockheed throws in, you know.
But are there average sales over the last 5 years under the NIDES code size standard? Maybe not. Only those whose last 5 year average sales can bid. Only those.
Okay.
But the government will not tell you how much they are willing to spend on the widget. They will not. They will give you an anticipated award dollar values, so you got to kind of have that ballpark, figure, but they won't give you the exact dollar amount because all you'll do is price it to fit in the box.
Right.
All right, and let's take another peek here. Let's see if they give that to you. So let's go back to the top. So again, my first step, everyone does it their own way. My first step is to go all the way to the bottom. Once I open it up, look at all the attachments. I'm coming, sir. And to get those downloads started. I'm just downloading frenzy right now. Get all that started, then I go back and start reading. So let's take a look and see if they give you an anticipated dollar value in addition to the NIDES code. Again, so I'm going to go here. I see that the NIDES code is 541512. That's what I do. It tells me there was an amendment on the 30th, and it was to extend the due date of the proposal from the 9th to the 16th. I'm going to keep going. And this is what happens. Whenever they make changes to a solicitation, they'll kind of give you the timeline of that. So you get to see what's been going on with that opportunity. All right. And young lady mentioned earlier about a POC. Look at that. I've got myself a point of contact. Again, this is one of the reasons why I like RFPs, RFIs, RFQs. And it actually gave me 2. So for this agency, those are 2 I'm going to capture, put in an Excel spreadsheet, and hold and save that for later because I might need to reach out. You never know. All right? And then comes the attachments. One of the attachments might give you the anticipated award dollar value, possibly. It's not on the core page. Might be there, but again, they'll never tell you how much they're willing to spend.
Right.
Roundabout, but never the exact dollar amount.
Yeah, I'm just wondering ballpark.
Yep, yes, sir.
Right. Are there so many sections because of the FAR regulations, like the clauses and stuff that we have to meet? Or?
It depends, and also a lot of those will be templates. It'll want you to fill out a past performance template. Then it wants you to fill out a template for this and a RFPs are full of templates, full of them, and you'll need to fill them out. And sometimes the same information that they've asked you over here on one template, you just copy it and pasting it over here to the other template. But yes, every contract that's put out for bid by the federal government is based on FAR, Federal Acquisition Regulations. And what I can do at Food and Drug Administration, you may not be able to do at SSA. You may not be able to do at Treasury or Energy. Everyone's FAR is different, so you are 100% correct. Those attachments could be agency driven. They could be. But until we open them up, there's just no way of knowing what we're actually dealing with here. But that's why on the other slide I gave you what sections to look at. What was it? L, C, M, go to those sections first. And the biggest section, the section that will really tell you exactly what's going on, and actually I'm going to try to see if I can find it, is the statement of work. All right, so we've got all these attachments. I'm looking for something that says either statement of work, this might be it, base performance. You've got statement of work, or you might see SOW. That's what I'm looking for, and it doesn't give me that, so it's got to be one of these. Let's see here. Work breakdown might be it. Nope, that says dictionary. I'm going to go with this one, section J. And where'd you download? Don't go away, don't go away. Awesome. Base performance work statement. All right. This is giving, again, so much reading, especially on this one. It's pretty much giving me information about the solicitation itself, which is going to help me actually write my proposal response. And what I have right now, which I knew I was going to get, is a little bit of deer in the headlights. How are we feeling? Like we don't want to do this now? Maybe I'll go with state. Maybe there are less attachments, less pages. Come on, give me your thoughts. What are you thinking right now? This is something you can do? You think this is something you can't do? Maybe not, Monica. I was enthusiastic before I got here, but now I'm thinking, nah. I saw a hand over there, blue sweater.
It's intimidating. The list
Very.
is intimidating, but you will find if you stick to some of the same funders or agencies that are putting out the RFP, that a lot of those templates are the same.
Mhm.
So you may see, oh, okay, I recognize this, I did this one last month, right? So it's the list, it's intimidating, and yeah, you just want to go on to your next pile. But once you're in it, it does get a little better.
I agree. And even though I'm not a proposal writer, I've seen a lot of proposals in my lifetime of doing this since 1989. And so I will say I've seen some really good ones and I've seen some really bad ones. And you are 100% correct. When you've done enough of these, like a true professional proposal writer, it's nothing. They do it all day, every day. Section J, Section M, Section L. It just rolls off. And you're right. Since it's based on FAR, some of the templates from one agency to another could be similar. So how you filled it out before may be how you fill it out again. But then I'm going to kind of play devil's advocate here a little bit. Do I know that how I filled it out the first time was right? All right, so you want to be careful about that copy and paste thing. You want to be very careful. And then one thing I didn't say before, which I want to kind of put in your lap now is, let's say you bid and you don't win. You need to request a debrief. A debrief is super important, but you have a very short window to request it. A debrief is, you submitted a proposal, you did not win, you received notification, you did not win. You then go back to the agency, like, I'd like to have a debrief. That agency will then walk you through everything, and you may not want to hear it, all the things that were wrong with your proposal submission. This will help you make changes, such as you did not fill out certain templates correctly. All right, you need that feedback. What my clients were doing is coming and asking me, how would I know? I don't know why you didn't win. Beats me. You need to hear it from them. Them meaning the agency that you submitted that proposal response to in the first place. You need to actually hear from them. Why did I not win? Was it my pricing? Was it my structure? Where did I miss the mark exactly? So always request a debrief. I'm coming, ma'am. I saw a hand over here first. Did you have something?
Hi. It's a little intimidating in the beginning, but I'm very impressed with the amount of information that each website offers, and then of the understanding that if it was so easy, everybody would do it.
This is true.
So, kind of weeds out the people that maybe aren't so serious, and the more aggressive people will go through all those steps and get it done.
Exactly. And doesn't it also give you an appreciation for the Lockheed and the Booz Allen? They were all us. They sat in rooms just like this, learning about what the process is and how do you search for work. They didn't just come out booze. All right? They were sitting in classes just like this one, and something turned the corner. What turned the corner? They won something. Then they won something else, and then they won something else, and they kept on winning and realized, hey, we have something that we can actually sell. They started just where we're starting. So you are 100% correct. And yes, ma'am.
Is this as challenging as it is for those in the healthcare industry?
Doesn't matter industry, the RFP is going to be the RFP, but I will say this to you. You mentioned earlier about what's the anticipated award value of this particular opportunity. I'd have to open up a few of those documents to actually find it. They've obviously hidden it. They didn't just put it on the homepage, but the number of attachments tells me it's probably pretty large, to be honest with you. Probably is.
Right, that's what I was wondering.
Okay? So the more attachments you see, probably the larger the opportunity is, because when it's something simplistic, let's say under $1 million, you won't get, what is it, like 20 attachments there or something ridiculous like that? You won't see so much, but it won't be industry-based. You could find a healthcare one that's only $200,000, the anticipated awarded dollar value, it's only 3 attachments. You could find one for $5 million or for 10 or for 20. My client won a $100 million contract with FDA. I stopped counting how many attachments. I stopped counting. It just made me be very grateful that I am not a proposal writer. Just in looking at that. So again, it won't be industry-based. It'll be based on what him and I were trying to dig. And again, if we had a longer class, I'd open up, because now I'm curious. I would open up every last attachment until I found it. But right now, it's a bit hidden because it wants us, it meaning the agent, it wants us to read the documents. So it wants us to actually open them up. Okay? Anything else? Any more feedback? Yes, sir.
Like if you don't have any reference with the federal government, so can you still pay it and there's a probability you'll win it if you have a good proposal?
Possibly, but the agency would be taking a risk. The agency would take a risk, right? So what you're trying to do is, gotcha. So what you're trying to say is, hey, if I've got no past performance, I don't really have the core competencies, I really have no experience, what do I do? Can I still bid? Should I still bid? I won't say no, you shouldn't, but what I will say to you is you want to really look to see, does your core competencies, experience, expertise, can you staff it? Can you fund it? We know we can't build the government for about 60 days, 30, 60 days, and then you're going to spend another 30 days waiting to get paid. Can you withstand all of that as prime? If most of those answers are no, then you want to become a subcontractor. You want to jump, as I like to say, jump on someone's team. All right? Not have the overload of trying to prime it. Prime means it's all on you. Every single requirement listed in the RFP, you must meet. Not him, not her, you by yourself, and then you bring on subs to help you perform. But at the end of the day, you as prime must bid and win. Can you do that? The answer is no, not do it without breaking the bank and pretty much exhausting every bit of funding that you have in the bank. Don't do it. Jump on someone's team.
And there's another question. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
There's another question. Like if I have an experience or reference from the state government or local government, does it matter here when I go for the federal one?
Okay, his question is, if I generated past performance from city, local, state, county, other sources, can I leverage that win to go after federal work? The answer is yes. A win is a win. It's less risky for me as a contracting officer to accept your proposal response and want to hire you if you've been hired by someone else. When you bid on something that's prime and you have 0 past performance, you're pretty much saying to me, you want me to be the first that you've ever sold it to. No. I'm thinking no. And why is that? Because if you don't perform, or if you don't perform well, it's my job. It's my name that is on there. I'm not comfortable. I need you. Even, yes, I know you're going to hire like 15 subs to help you perform the work, but you as prime, I'm just not comfortable. If any of your subs let you down, what will you do? And it's the first. It's the very first contract ever. You're still learning how this thing works. So the answer would probably be no. But Lockheed didn't start with winning as prime. They were on everyone in their mama's team winning that work. And they leveraged those wins to go back and then win as prime. Now they are hiring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subs just like us. It's how it goes. But if you feel like you find one where it's small enough, go for it. I believe in practicing bidding on these RFPs because it's the only way you'll get good at it. It's the only, especially if you don't have enough resources to hire out that responsibility of writing that proposal response, you just got to jump in, get that debrief, learn about what you did right, what you did wrong, and keep it moving. But you won't do that until you got to continue that grind. And you will lose a lot, meaning didn't win that one, didn't win this one. You can't worry about that. You have to keep at it. That is what Lockheed and the other large companies did. They didn't always win. They lost a lot. But then when they started winning, people started recognizing they can do this work. They developed that rapport, and then it was done. It's smooth sailing from there, to be honest with you. As long as you can fund it, staff it, because Lockheed kicks out a lot of money to bid and perform on these contracts before they can even invoice. And we've got to understand that, can you fund it? A contract award could put you out of business. Did you ever think about that? You want it, now what? I've got a staff, I've got to hire 1099s, W-2s, I've got to pay taxes. I haven't even invoiced yet. I've taken out all these loans, etc. A contract could put you out of business. You need to work out the dollars and cents before you bid. Not after you win. Now you're scrambling, borrowing from friends and family, trying to get this, but I'm going to give it back to you in about 6 months. You need to figure that out before you bid. And most people don't. Yes, sir.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, I think is property value, if you did a couple proposals, you do your debrief, if you didn't win, does it kind of set you up to go to now to a prime and going in with your proposal now did win, or you now have a covered way to want to partner with them and be a little more successful with it?
Exactly. So his point is, you know, I may not be ready to go, but the prime who won it and I'm his sub, I can learn that. I can learn that along the way. I can look at how they, the scope of work, see how it's done, behind the scenes, not saying a word. I'm just absorbing like a sponge. I'm just taking it all in, learning everything I possibly can. And then I take all that and then I go prime something on my own. But you got to learn it. And what better way to learn it than from a prime who won it? But again, understand something, that is your competition. Because if they hired you, that means you probably do some of the similar things. So don't be like, yeah, I want to learn from you. I wouldn't do that, okay? You want to be careful. It's kind of this little sneaky thing. You know me, I'm always side door, back door, right? So you want to do this thing where you just listen, oh, nice. So that's how you do that. You know, but you don't want to be out with it because that is your competition. The last thing that prime wants you to do is be able to prime on your own. Because 9 times out of 10, that means you'll be competing against them for that same work. So again, you have to be very cautious in how you gain that knowledge and information. I'm going to go here and I'll be right there. Yes, sir.
I was just going to say just that because I do subcontracting myself for many of the companies you just discussed, like Lockheed Martin, for instance. And they don't give their secrets out on how to do this. Like, this is generally why I'm here.
Right.
They do not tell you like any of how to get that prime contract. Now, they'll give you, if you, like I have a relationship with them at APG, they will give you work one after another. And when you were alluding to the $25,000 contracts, they do. They literally have them sitting on their desk. They call you up, hey, Sparty, you do this for me? And literally pay with a credit card.
Exactly.
It's amazing when you get a relationship with somebody like that.
Exactly.
They will not tell you, or Jay Creek or someone like that, they will not tell you.
So pretty much what he's saying is what we were saying together collectively, which is primes don't want you. It's not that they don't want you to learn. They know that at some particular point you're going to learn how to swim on your own, but they're not going to openly help you do that. Okay? And actually in subcontract agreements, it says that you can't even speak to their customer. Because one of the things that we do as a service for our clients is we review their subcontract agreements, their teaming agreements, their NDAs. Before they even solidify these relationships, we read the agreement. I love to rip them up, especially when there's large business. So much fun to take a Lockheed agreement where I can't touch them and just start redlining. I just get such a kick out of that because they've got things in there like you get paid when I get paid. What? No, you're gonna pay me in net 30, net 45. That's a prime. That's how they became prime. That's how they became Lockheed. It's no disrespect to us, but that's how they got to where they are. So they're not looking to pull us up by the bootstraps. They want us to stay in the sub position, but it's us to be creative within the terms of our sub K with them to still learn that information legally. And there is a way to do that. But again, they won't help us along the way. Not openly like that. Okay? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have two. Can you be federal employee and still do the business with that?
So his question is, can you be a federal government employee and still start your own business and go after federal government contracts? Best example I can give you is myself. Federal government employee. I've just had about enough sitting in that cubicle for 23 years, no office, no window, just sitting there. My life was just, I could see it before my eyes. Death is just gonna come with me in this cubicle, okay? And with that being said, I'm just sitting there going, I'm just gonna quit. I had like $500 in the bank, just up and quit. But before I did that, I said, I'm gonna get permission from the government to start a business. So I went and asked the attorney in the office, can I start a business? She said, yes. As a federal government employee, it doesn't allow you to start a business. However, the agency in which you work for, you cannot sell the same services. You can sell other things, but you can't sell the same thing that the agency that you're getting paid to work, you can't sell the same thing. It had to be something completely different.
Because you know them.
Exactly. So, all right, so that's the first thing. And then once you do that, once you get that permission, you can go and you can start the business. However, you need to be very careful in that. So I started the business in 2011 under a different name. For the first year, I made, how much money did I make? Zero. Not $1. Okay? Not in apps, and not $1. Why? Because I'm in the cubicle all day, grinding out for the federal government and not for myself. So I needed to just quit. Then I was able to generate revenue. But you can do both with permission. Okay, and we've got to wrap it up, but what's your next question?
What do they offer for veterans, women-owned, and minorities?
You say, what does who offer? The federal government?
Yeah, do they have contracts?
They do. So if I could go in here and I could run a query, I'm sorry, it's not on the screen anymore, but I could go into sam.gov and I could type in veteran set-asides. I could type in woman-owned set-asides or 8A or HUB-Zone. So yes, there are contract opportunities out there for that group. Okay, so we are out of time now. So there was one slide left, which was subcontracting. So you could read that at your leisure, but you'll love the website link I provided in there. You can actually look for subcontract work at the link I put in the PowerPoint. Literally, there are large businesses and other large smalls all over that are looking for subs like us, and that's the one slide we did not get to today. Okay?
Still using IASCO for that too?
Oh, definitely run the query that way. It does require some registration in one of SBA's systems to be able to access that information, but again, I was able to go in and get the list like right away. Okay? Any other questions before we end it for today? Thank you so much for coming out. Really appreciate it.